Welcome to livingpianist.com. I'm Robert Estrin. Today is how can you get a unique sound out of the piano? You know, I've had people approach me and say, hey, it's just the speed at which the hammers hit the string. I mean, how can you possibly get a unique sound? Obviously, singers all have a distinctive sound because the physiology of everybody's body and vocal cords are unique. And wind instruments, it's the same thing because the whole vibrating chamber within you is part of the instrument, essentially. And a string instrument, there's a unique sound you hear out of players, and you think on the piano, it's a mechanical contraption. How could you possibly get different sounds? And yet, if you listen to different pianists, you hear drastically different sounds, and you might wonder, why and how is this possible? Well, there's a lot to this subject. So first, let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of a piano. I just happen to have an instrument with the action of a 9-foot concert grand piano here, my second prototype modular piano system that you've seen in a lot of my videos. So you see that you push a key, and what happens is the hammer goes up, key goes down, hammer goes up. And really, this particular instrument has optic sensors under the keys. And that's how it can translate the information to music software in order to create the sound. So it really is the only thing affecting that key once it's pushed is the speed. It's the only thing being measured. So you might wonder, how can you possibly get a unique sound? Is it really possible, the physics of it? And the answer is yes. And I'm going to explain how this is possible. First of all, of course, the speed has a lot to do with the tone, has to do with the loudness, of course. Before we get into the subtleties of pedaling, which is really a big issue with it, what about just with your hands? Playing, can you really get a different quality of sound just with your hands? If I, for example, played, I guess I'll play a little bit of Bach. Let's do the Sarabande movement from the G major French suite, and I'll see if I can achieve a different sound playing it with two different types of touches and see if you hear any difference. Here's way number 1 of the Sarabande for the 5th French suite of Bach. That was one way. Let's try another way. You might have noticed some different shadings of expression. I was playing with two completely different techniques. The first time, I just let my fingers be totally relaxed and floppy and just let them play the attack of the note without any regard to the sustain of the note. And yet, you say, but it doesn't make any difference on a piano. But it does, and why it does and how it does is the fluidity of note to note, having the analog of the breath by the weight of the arm being transferred smoothly from note to note. That's one. And secondly, the precise balance between the hands. It can be achieved by having different weight in the two different hands and even different weight on the different sides of the hands. So right there already you could hear some difference. Now when you add the complexities of what the pedals do on the piano, there are dramatic differences. Of course, if you use no pedal, and I'm going to play a note with no pedal first as a reference. Now, of course, if you put the pedal down before you play it, we all know it's going to have an echoey sound. In fact, it almost has a little plume right after the attack. But if you wanted to achieve a truly sustained tone, you wouldn't want to necessarily have that big plume on the attack. You probably would want to increase the sustain of the tone by pedaling just after the initial attack to try to capture more sustain to make the note hold longer so you can create a smooth line instead of a percussive quality to each note. By pushing the pedal down about half a second after playing the note, this is the sound you'll get. Listen to it again. Now, of course, you need probably headphones or decent speakers because these are subtle things, but you can try these things yourself when you're at a piano. And if you're in a digital piano, even many modern digital pianos will do some of the same things I'm talking about by using physical models of pianos, of real pianos. But naturally, doing this on an acoustic piano is the ideal situation for you. I'm using Piano Tech software, which is a virtual piano that is all physical model based, not sample based, so you can really get a feel for the sound of the pedals and everything. Once again, playing the note with no pedal. Now playing it with a pedal after the initial attack. There's a subtle difference in tone in that the sustain is more full when you put the pedal down after the initial attack, unlike putting it down before you even play it, which just makes the whole beginning very loud and doesn't really achieve that continuous quality that you want to mimic the sound of a human voice or a bowed instrument. Now, the una corda pedal on a grand piano, the soft pedal, the one on the left, it only does this on grand pianos, incidentally, shifts the whole action over, so the hammers are not striking directly on 3 strings. It's striking more directly on 2 of them, and you get a warmer tone. And because the initial attack is less intense, yet the sympathetic vibration of the 3 strings is more prevalent, you do get a more sustained tone just by using the una corda or soft pedal. Listen without any sustained pedal, that same note just with a soft pedal. And you can hear it's a more sustained tone, not just softer, but the envelope of the sound is different. The initial attack is less, and the sustain relative to the attack is greater. Now combining that soft pedal, the una corda pedal, with the technique I just showed you earlier of depressing the sustain pedal just after the initial attack, you can get a very sustained tone. Very continuous. And that's just the, scraping the surface, because you can also utilize the pedal in innumerable ways with half pedaling techniques where the dampers are just coming a little bit in contact with the strings, just to be able to dampen a little bit and get different colors. Sometimes even fluttering the pedal, or just using little bits of pedal here and there to bring out certain notes within a line. So yes, there are ways in which you can get different sounds out of the piano. Not to mention supporting the weight of the arms when playing massive chords instead of hitting the keyboard. Hit a keyboard, it's a rather harsh sound. Whereas if you are on the surface of the keys where you can precisely depress all 6 of these notes with the same energy, so some of them aren't overplayed and harsh while others are underplayed, because you can't control doing this. But this way you can. Just releasing all the weight of the arms at once from the surface of the keys gets a more musically pleasing sound. Try that on a fine grand piano and you'll really hear a difference. So yes, pianists have dramatically different sounds. Ultimately, one of the most important components of getting a unique sound out of the piano is how you balance the notes within a chord or the lines within counterpoint. And you can get tremendous variety of sound on the very same pieces of music. I always love to listen to a great variety of performances of the same piece with great pianists. It's so enlightening, and I encourage you to do the same thing. YouTube is a tremendous resource for that. Look up almost any piece of music, and you'll have, dozens of different performances from professionals to all-time greats from the 20th century to up-and-coming pianists to students, and you'll hear a great variety of sound on the piano. So yes, you can get a unique sound out of the piano. And I've just shown you many techniques, and there's even more. And I'd love to hear from all of you, any ideas you have for getting your unique sound out of the piano. Again, I'm Robert Estrin. This is livingpianos.com, your online piano resource. Lots more coming your way. Thanks for subscribing and ringing the bell. We'll see you next time.